Hey guys, day 27 of Autism Awareness Month, and today I wanted to talk about the importance of focusing on communication rather than just speech. So autism as a whole, for the most part, is like a communication disorder, and 30% of those diagnosed with autism will be nonverbal. But I've seen the push by therapists, teachers, and even some parents to only focus on verbal communication and speech, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, as a parent, like, I want my children to talk. I want to hear their voice. But you need to realize that if they can't speak or have limited verbal communication, you have to provide them with a means of communication. And if you give them different options of how to communicate, they'll find a way to communicate with you. So what are some of the other ways to communicate other than verbal? There's play. Like, they can communicate with you through their play to, signify their wants and needs. You can give them another means to communicate, such as sign language or like PECS or other visuals to point to and show you. I know that there are some people out there who are like, oh, don't use, like, if you're really trying to push for verbal communication, don't use any like visual cards that they can just point to. Don't use sign language, because that just hinders speech, which studies have shown, and even my own observations have shown that that is not true. So what am I talking about? Okay, so to give you some examples, all three of my children have learned how to communicate in different ways. So I'll try to do this quick. With Hito, he was a typically developing child. He hit every milestone on time, including with speech. And by 18 months, he was saying 2-word sentences, asking me questions. And then he woke up one day and had no speech, completely lost everything. Could not even say mama, dada, anything like that. So he had to learn again how to speak. We knew he was able to, so we were trying to push the speech and really see if he could talk again. So some things to help him with that, I did do a lot of play and music. We listened to music all the time, kids songs. We sang I sang all the time to him, and he really liked music. And so I did that, and then one day, YouTube just showed a video that had sign language included in the song, and he really took to that. Oh, and that was signing time, by the way. We love signing time. And he just took to that right away. He was very interested. And so I was like, oh, I never even thought of using sign language with kids. So I started to learn all of the signs in the songs, and I would sing it and sign to him all the time. And for Hito, we learned that if we paired a word with a sign, he was more likely to say the word. So then his vocabulary grew again. For Carmelo, I signed to him since birth, and he liked me signing, but he didn't ever use sign language to show me what he wanted. And he was a very quiet child, so he had no speech. He didn't use sign language. What else could I do? So books. He loved books. He loved looking at pictures. And if he saw a visual of something paired with a word, he would say it. So he found his own means of learning to communicate. And then Eva, I also, again, used sign language from the start and talked to her all the time and sang all the time and read books all the time. But what did she take to? She took to sign language. And she was very quiet also. She didn't really say any words. She had very few words before she was 2. But she communicated very early on with sign language, and by the time she was 2, she had over 200 words that she could use to tell me everything that she wanted. And so I had no problem communicating with her. She was the easiest one in the house at that time to communicate with. And then as she did become verbal, she would say even harder words, because it was something that if I didn't have a sign for, then she was more likely to say the word. So sushi was one of her first words. And then once she really, like, her vocabulary exploded. She just started talking all the time and didn't really want to use sign language anymore. So there's no right and wrong way to go about trying to find a means to communicate with your child, but meet them where they're at and give them the tools and options of how to communicate with you, and not just push the speech. Which, again, there's no problem with still incorporating speech, even if you know that your child is nonverbal. By all means, like, still work on that, but give them a means to communicate. They need a way to communicate first before you can try to expand other skills. So, until next time, guys, bye.